it up. Children, if you would like to be dismissed from church, or adults, if you'd like for them to go away temporarily. Just out of curiosity, Jennifer and I were talking about this earlier. How many of y'all knew that song, Jesus is the Song, we sang earlier? How many of y'all know that? I think Jennifer says, I said, no, I don't know. I bet you nobody else does. You know what? We learned a new song today, didn't we? And we survived. We did. It's important, yeah? Hey, Bruce. How's retirement going? Good, good. Okay, good. Good to see you. Mercy me. Well, let's look at Ecclesiastes today. I promised y'all last Sunday we were talking about Ecclesiastes a little bit more, and I'm trying to be cute and cheeky and silly and the title of the sermon. And some of y'all have cut a rug in your day to some rock and roll music, and some of y'all probably think it's the devil. It's whatever you think. I'm of the philosophy that why should the devil have all the good music? The Lord can redeem some stuff. And we can look at culture and we can analyze culture a little bit. Today we're going to look at Ecclesiastes chapter 1, bits and pieces of chapters 1, verse 12 through 2:26. We're going to talk about satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. Okay? Some of y'all that are probably a little bit older than myself listened to this on the radio when it came out in 1965. The Rolling Stones were a bright bunch of young men who back then could shake and gyrate and not worry about breaking bones and hips. And now you worry if they're on stage, but they still do it, believe it or not. But they sang this song reflecting the angst and dissatisfaction of most young people their age in the 1960s especially with the society. Women, TV, radio, etc. couldn't offer Mick Jagger, the songwriter, any satisfaction. And still in my head, I'm playing, I can't get no satisfaction. In fact, I even got the words, and if I could recite the whole song, I'm not going to sing it, but I've got the whole lyrics of the song. I thought about playing it, and I was like, well, it's a Baptist church, I better not. But, that notion of I can't get no satisfaction, okay, the grammar part of me says it's a double negative, so he's getting satisfaction. Push up to the side. This notion of we can't find any satisfaction is very indicative of where our culture is today, isn't it? It very much is. We search around, we try to find places, things, TV, possessions, relationships, etc. that try to fill something that's missing from our life. And we can't seem to find that thing to plug the hole. The writer of Ecclesiastes, who may have been Solomon, may have not been, it's portrayed as being Solomon, kept looking for things to give him contentment and satisfaction in his life. He couldn't find any satisfaction. See, before Mick Jagger sang it, he sang it even better, right? He experimented and tried lots of things, and nothing gave him fulfillment. And he searched and searched and searched. And what Solomon, or the teacher, as mentioned in Ecclesiastes, concludes is that only God can fill the hole in our life that we're trying to fill with other things. Only God can do that. You see, only God can bring meaning and satisfaction to our life. You see, again, there's a lot of people in this society today who are trying to chase things. They're trying to chase people, places, experiences that make them, quote-unquote, happy. And when I thought about this sermon, I saw on the back of somebody's car the little sticker, Salt Life, or The Good Life. People are trying to find things, striving to find things to make them happy, to make them content, to fulfill them. But it ain't happening. They can't get no satisfaction. You see, Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes, one of the main words in this passage is a word that is a Hebrew word there. And I showed this to you not to show off, but since we talked about it Wednesday night, which, by the way, I videotaped the Wednesday night Bible study discussion. It's on our YouTube channel if you're on the internet. We talked about translations. I passed around the Hebrew Bible, my Greek Bible, different English translations. We talked about how we got English translations, and there's a bit of a difficulty in determining what's a good translation, what's better for me, and all these different issues. And I showed this Hebrew word to Hevel, to talk about, that's the main focus of Ecclesiastes in some way, is this one little word. I think the King James calls it vanity. Meaningless, some translations call it pointless, useless. The simple little word is one of the main concepts of Hebrew, of Ecclesiastes. You see, no matter how much of what we do or how we indulge ourselves or what we experience, our efforts to find self-fulfillment are vanity. They're meaningless, they're pointless, they're useless. As Ecclesiastes notes, it's like chasing after the wind. Only God can fill the hole in our life. So I want you to ponder, as we look at this passage today, I want you to ponder, what are you putting into your life to fulfill this longing, this desire to give you fulfillment, to give you purpose, to give you meaning, to give you happiness? Is it God? Now most of us here, I would argue to say, are Christian people, and we know better. But that doesn't mean we always do what we're supposed to do, does it? Sometimes we stray from the path and we try to fill our lives with other things to make us happy, to fill that void, to look at this meaningless, to fill meaning in our meaningless lives. Let's look at the passage a little bit. Let's look at a few verses here. And I'm looking at the New Living Translation, verses 12 and 13. I, the teacher, was king of Israel, and I lived in Jerusalem. I devoted myself to search for understanding and explore wisdom, everything being done under heaven. I soon discovered that God had dealt a tragic existence to the human race. Now, again, I mentioned that Ecclesiastes may or may not have been written by Solomon. We don't exactly know, but the term the teacher or the instructor or Kohelet is the Hebrew word here. It's often referred to as the writer of Ecclesiastes. Anyway, it appears to be Solomon or a Solomon-like figure wrote this document. Now let's look at Solomon a little bit. Think of all that Solomon had experienced. Solomon was a very big figure in the Old Testament. A lot of things. He took over the reign from his father. Of course, there was some intrigue in how Solomon got to the throne, but he got to the throne. He was God's pick. He reigned 40 years. For a while, he was really good at the politics of it. He streamlined his father's country, created 12 districts. He was a great builder. He built a great temple to God in Jerusalem that David desired to build but wasn't allowed to build it. A temple that took 7 years and thousands of workers. In fact, there were 80,000 stonecutters used on the temple, according to the text of the Bible. 70,000 common laborers and 3,600 foremen. He also built homes and other facilities and possibly some strategic war forts and things like that. Solomon had economic prowess. He had treaties with kings such as Hiram of Tyre. He paid yearly for cedar and stonecutters and other building materials, and paid in bushels of wheat and gallons of oil. In fact, the Bible text estimates 125,000 bushels of wheat and 115,000 gallons of oil. In fact, under his reign, ships were built at Azon-Geber, sailed around the Red Sea and Indian Ocean, collecting gold and ivory. There was opulence and decadence. There was wealth in Solomon's time. Solomon was also a wise man. According to 1 Kings 4:32, he wrote 3,000 proverbs, 1,500 songs, and he's credited possibly writing Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and 2 Psalms. He was something else. He was a wise man. And that was something with the ladies too, which was his downfall, right? According to 1 Kings 11:3, he had 700 wives and 300 concubines. Now you cover your ears. I have a hard enough time with one woman, but I don't say one. But vice versa, she has a hard enough time with me too, I'm sure. But now, of course, a lot of these wives he probably gained through treaties and alliances, made an agreement with so-and-so king. Well, you got to marry my daughter to cement the deal type thing. But he had a lot of women in his life. He liked the ladies. He was successful by modern standards. King Solomon had it all. He had everything that anybody would want. People wanted to be him, I'm sure. If you were alive today, you'd be like one of these stars out in Hollywood, these huge homes and, ladies everywhere and all kind of, it's a successful career. He experienced it all, but here's what he said. I observed everything going on under the sun, and really, it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. What is wrong cannot be made right, and what is missing cannot be recovered. He tried everything, and it was meaningless. It didn't fill the type of hole that he was trying to fill in his life. There was something missing from it all. Let's dig a little bit deeper in this chapter and see what he experimented with and couldn't get any satisfaction. Chapter 2, verses 1 through 3 talk about the fact that he had no fulfillment in pleasure. He indulged in pleasure and couldn't make that give him some satisfaction. I said to myself, come on, let's try pleasure. Let's look for the good things in life. But I found this too was meaningless. So I said, laughter is silly. What good does it do to seek pleasure? After much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine. And while still seeking wisdom, I clutched at foolishness. In this way, I try to experience the only happiness most people find during their brief life in this world. He turned to alcohol. He turned to merriment. He turned to chemicals. He turned to things that many people today try to turn to find fulfillment. You see, I'm told in my research, and I'm not anywhere in the medical field, none whatsoever, so forgive me, that's secondhand information. But apparently there's two chemicals in our body. One is called dopamine. It is a reward neurotransmitter that tells our body that it feels good, I want more. And dopamine can lead to addiction, in fact. Serotonin is the contentment neurotransmitter that tells our brains things feel good, I have enough, I don't need any more. Too little serotonin leads to depression and so on and so forth. Ideally, both should be an optimal supply, but sometimes dopamine drives down the serotonin, the contentment. Chronic stress drives down both. One opinion article I read said that too many of our simple pleasures have morphed into something else. A 6.5-ounce soda became a 30-ounce big gulp drink. An afternoon with friends gave way to 1,000 friendlings on Facebook. Each momentary pleasure is just that, momentary. But chronic dopamine from our favorite fix reduces serotonin and happiness. Furthermore, government legislation, subsidies have tolerated ever-available temptation, sugar, alcohol, tobacco, drugs, social media, porn, combined with constant stress, work, money, home, schools, cyberbullying, internet, with the end result of an unprecedented epidemic of addiction, anxiety, depression, and chronic disease. Thus, the more pleasure you seek, the more unhappy you get, and the more likely you will slide into addiction and depression. In other words, the things of this world we're trying to fill our lives with, the pleasures of this world, the social media, Facebook, and the drugs, the partying, the different pleasures of life, the bigger size, the big old cup of coffee or tea that I need in the morning to get going. Sometimes that increases our dopamine, and sometimes increases our susceptibility to addiction, to being addicted to things. Now, I got thinking about that. In this era of smartphones, you all have smartphones. God bless you. I don't know how we live. I live in a time where we didn't have smartphones, even cell phones, that we could carry around for the most part. But I see myself every now and then pull my smartphone out, trying to play, trying to check my email, trying to check on Facebook. I've got to do that. I'm almost addicted to doing that. And there are people who are addicted to doing that because the chemicals in their body say, I need to do it. I need to do it. It gives me instant gratification. We live in a society where we're trying to fill the God-sized hole in our life with the pleasures of our life. Things we don't necessarily need. And it's not doing us any good. It's leaving us worse off. Addiction to drugs, alcohol, etc. is not making things better, it's making things worse. Addiction to social media, internet, it's not making things better, it's making it worse. Addiction to the pleasures of life, living the high life, is not making things any better at all. The teacher, or Solomon, found no fulfillment in great building projects. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verses 4 through 6. I also tried to find meaning by building huge homes for myself and by planting beautiful vineyards. I made gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I built reservoirs to collect the water to irrigate my many flourishing groves. Build, build, build. Bigger and better. Didn't make you feel any better. And I showed this little graphic. I found this on the internet. I didn't check the veracity of all of it, but I use this to show you that it seems to be every so often there is somebody, some country, some city trying to build a bigger, taller building to outdo the tallest building in the world. And it shows you the different buildings here that have been built, and there's, some that's 3,100 or 3,200 feet tall, because they want to have the biggest, tallest building, the prestige of bigger and better. And most of us don't have that problem, do we? But some of y'all remember this guy on the slide there, Robin Leach. Lifestyles, the rich and famous. I always remember that. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams. Mom used to watch that, and she'd try to, man, I just wish I could live that way. I wish life was better than what it is, Champagne wishes and caviar dreams. And if y'all get what's probably seen that show back in the 80s, you remember the opulence and decadence of all these places that which Robin went to. These huge, big buildings and lives that we can never experience. But there are people who keep trying to build bigger homes, better homes, and it's not making them any happier, is it? The teacher, the Kohelet, found no fulfillment. Solomon found no fulfillment in possessions. You see over verses 7 through 8. I bought slaves, both women and men, and others were born into my household. I also owned large herds and flocks, more than any of the kings who lived in Jerusalem before me. I collected great sums of silver and gold, the treasure of many kings and provinces. As a rap song of my day says, all about the Benjamins, right? Again, Robin Leach pops up. Yeah, think about all the decadence and all the wealth and all of the stuff that people pile up. These beautiful homes that are being built and that people just throw money into and try to live a better life, probably better than what they even can afford. That's our society today, isn't it? We try to find happiness, we try to find fulfillment in a bigger home. Keep up with the Joneses. To live in the decadent type of lifestyle that we live. In fact, many of us don't have big homes, but we may have used one of these things I've got pictured here. Self-storage buildings. We've got too much stuff, and we don't want what we have. According to the Orange County Register in 2013, there were 50,000 self-storage locations across the U.S. 50,000. That may not seem like a whole lot. Let me put it in perspective. When this article came out in 2013, 50,000 self-storage units were more domestic locations than McDonald's, Subway, and Jack in the Box combined. There's McDonald's and a Subway in about every little town around here, isn't it? I was trying to think about how many different McDonald's there were in Gaston County. It's ridiculous. Now think about how many different little self-storage places there are. There's a ton of them. We live in a society where people move, they upsize, they downsize, combine households, they clean out homes, apartments, deceased loved ones, they expand a business, they replace their inventory, they hang on to objects, they have difficulty replacing things, and they don't want to get rid of things. We have a storage building full of junk in our house. Of course, we've got to buy a lawnmower, takes up a lot of room, but we got junk, things we don't need. I was up in the attic putting up our Christmas decorations. We got kids' toys. The boys are too big for now that we're saving for one day when we'll have that yard sale. We've been planning that yard sale for a few years now, and we may have it one of these decades. We've got too much stuff, and it's not making us happy, is it? It's just making it worse. A lot of people in society are trying to fill that God-sized hole with things. It ain't working. But Solomon, the teacher, tried to find fulfillment in intimate relations and sex. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 8, the second half of it. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women, and had many beautiful concubines. I had everything a man could desire. Everything his libido wanted. By the way, I'll tell you something funny. I got a friend of mine who was a youth evangelist. He's now a pastor at a big church in South Carolina. Used to do a summer camp. And 800 kids in a big college gym, and getting 800 people and teenagers settled down is a hard thing. What my buddy would do, he would get in front of everybody and just on the microphone and yell out, "Sex!" You have never heard a teenager so quiet in your whole life. Pin could drop a mile away and you could hear it. But we live in a society where sex sells, doesn't it? And I'm not picking on this book. I've never read it, never seen the movie, but 50 Shades of Grey kind of gives you an insight of how our society has a little bit of fascination with intimate relations. This book, released in late 2011, has sold 15.2 million copies. And that's just an estimate I saw from last year. Its sequels, 50 Shades Darker, sold 10.4 million. 50 Shades Freed sold 9.3 million. And it's mainly about an odd sexual relationship between a man and a woman. It's from what I gather, I've never read it, I don't know, but it gives an indication that our society is very sexualized in the media today. It ain't making people happy. I found some stats that in the U.S., there are more strip clubs in the United States than any other nation in the world. There are 3,829 adult cabarets nationwide, employing more than 50,000 people. Statistics compiled by an organization that I found in an article said that the single gentleman's club in a major metropolitan area averages 10 to 20 million per year in gross revenues. A small club in a rural area, less than 5,000 square feet, can generate over $1 million, while cities in secondary markets such as Cleveland and Pittsburgh have clubs that gross approximately $2 million per year. The number of major strip clubs nearly doubled between 1987 and 1992, and by 1997 there were around 3,000 clubs nationally. The industry is estimated to be a $15 billion business, with annual revenues of strip clubs ranging from $500,000 to over $5 million. These statistics are a little old, but I'm sure still a good trend, or a bad trend, I should say. We live in a society that's trying to find fulfillment, find purpose, find happiness, find meaning through sex. There's industries popped up around it. And guess what? We're not even better for it. People aren't finding this meaning, this purpose, this fulfillment. It's not to be found. You see, from all the stuff that most people that acquire, all the things, the bigger barns, the bigger towers, the bigger homes, the things we're addicted to, for me, the smartphone, TV, all these things that we have in our life, they're not making us happy. They're not fulfilling us. They're not giving us purpose. They're not filling that God-sized hole in our life that we need filled. And that's been saying God-sized hole. It takes God. There are even some, such as the writer of Ecclesiastes, who found no fulfillment in wisdom and being smart, whether it be book knowledge or common sense knowledge. There are two proverbs that are mentioned in chapter 1 of Ecclesiastes that point to this. What is wrong cannot be made right. What is missing cannot be recovered. Verse 18 says, the greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. To increase knowledge only increases sorrow. Now, verse 15, I do like the NIV a little bit better than the NLT. It says, what is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is crooked cannot be straightened. You see, we live in a world where many of us think we're pretty darn smart. And you can ask my wife, I think I'm pretty smart. Probably smarter than I am, I think. Maybe. But verse 15 reminds us that a lot of times we may think we're smart. We may think we're wise. We may think we know everything. But God knows more than we do. God knows better than we do. We think we know better than what God gives us, the hand of God gives us. Instead of wrestling with it, we wrestle with God's will all the time. This is what I want. This is what I know is best. I. That's about what He has. You see, both the foolish and the wise often struggle with what God has done and what God's plan is for our lives. Many of us get big britches and think we know more than God. We know better than God. Our wisdom we've tried to fill our lives with, our knowledge we've tried to fill our lives with, point that way. There's some people that say they're smarter and bigger and better than God. There is no God. God is dead. There's no need for God. One day they'll be set straight. One day they'll see Him face to face and be judged. Now this other proverb here, verse 18, the greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. It's funny, I hit a milestone age-wise. Most of y'all have reminded me that turning 40 I'm still pretty darn young. But I'm starting to think back on my life and reflect a little bit on, what I've done in my short life and some good things and bad things. And one of the things I hear from myself and others who have talked about their life reflected is, if I knew now, or if I knew then what I know now, if I knew then what I know now, being that headstrong young man or headstrong teenager, if I had only known what my actions would have done and the implications of my actions. See, the more wisdom, the more insight, the more life we live, increases our sorrow. We want to know more. Well, think about Adam and Eve. They ate from the tree of fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. They wanted more. They were tempted. They wanted more. Eyes were opened. They knew too much. Couldn't put the genie back in the bottle then, could they? We know too much now. We think we know too much. The genie can't be put back in the bottle. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. It's all like chasing the wind, no matter what we do in life to try to make ourselves happy, to fulfill ourselves, to find purpose. There's a whole cottage industry, by the way, about finding purpose in life. In fact, Rick Warren is a minister out in California, has made a lot of money off of purpose-driven life. In fact, he doesn't receive a salary from his church in reverse tithes. He pays his church to be their pastor because money's made off of the book Purpose-Driven Life. People are trying to find purpose and meaning in life. People in this world try to fill that hole in life with stuff, with things that give them pleasure, increase the dopamine levels, the addictions, the stuff. To build bigger homes. To add more things that we don't need or have. Even people try to get smarter than God. But none of it really satisfies, does it? Only God can fill our lives with meaning and purpose. Only God. Only God. Not the TV, not the internet, not our addictions, not our bigger homes, bigger cars, better cars. None of it can. Only God. If you're looking for meaning and purpose in life, you're trying to fill it with things, you're doing wrong. As musicians come and as we sing, maybe you need